Let's start with gasoline ones. By the way, all of them are representatives of the EA111 family. Initially, Fabia debuted with naturally aspirated gasoline engines with a displacement of 1.2, 60 and 70 horsepower, 1.4, 86 horsepower, and 1.6, 105 horsepower, liters. After restyling in 2010, the weakest engine disappeared from the line, but a 1.2 TSI turbo engine, 105 horsepower, and a 180 horsepower 1.4 TSI appeared for the RS version. All gasoline engines have a timing chain drive, with the exception of the 1.4 engine with a belt drive. Perhaps the best option for the Fabia in terms of not only the balance of dynamic qualities and fuel consumption, but also reliability and maintenance costs is the 1.4-liter engine, 86 horsepower. With proper operation, it is guaranteed to last more than 250,000 kilometers and is unlikely to require serious investments. However, high oil consumption is possible and is usually caused by coking of the piston rings. Other sores include thermostat malfunctions and oil leaks through gaskets and seals. It's better not to skimp on the quality of the oil, or on the timing of replacing spark plugs, otherwise the coils will fly out. And don't let the timing belt drive confuse you. The chains of other motors don't last much longer, and replacement is more expensive. But we will put the 1.6-liter version, 105 horsepower, in second place not only for this reason. Yes, the chain drive is not at all eternal, but still on this engine the chain runs much longer than on 1.2-liter engines. In terms of other sores, the engine is comparable to its 1.4-liter brother. But it is important to note, until 2010, the Fabia was equipped with a BTS engine, and then it was replaced by, yes, the same CFNA that was later installed on the Polo and Rapid, and it is famous for the knocking of the pistons. I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carmi.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what brakes and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carm.pro. It turned out that the engine was knocking due to the rigid alignment of the pistons in the cylinders. And although the problem progressed very slowly over time and mileage, that is, the wear of the pistons and cylinders did not take on a catastrophic nature, owners of cars with a knocking engine, when contacting official dealers, had the piston group replaced free of charge. Since the spring of 2013, modified ET series pistons have been used in the production and repair of engines. In any case, the engine is quite simple and resourceful. However, Fabia is much less common with it, and usually with an automatic transmission. But a good half of the cars on the market have 1.2-liter engines. Here it is also necessary to distinguish between different engine models: 3-cylinder naturally aspirated engines with distributed injection MPI, 60 and 70 horsepower, and 4-cylinder turbo engines with direct injection TSI, 105 horsepower. But only from the point of view of technology and consumer qualities. The turbo engine pleases with its dynamics and efficiency. But from the point of view of trouble-free operation, any 1.2-liter engine is a SOSO option. The main complaints are about the short life of the chain, sometimes less than 100,000 kilometers, especially on cars before restyling. And some owners also encounter scuffing of the cylinder walls. But even if it doesn't come to this, oil consumption is still usually increased. And a used TSI also has questions regarding the turbine and sensitive fuel system. The Fabia's range of diesel engines is unusually wide. The thing is that until 2010 it was equipped with old engines with 1.4 TDI, 69 and 80 horsepower, and 1.9 TDI, 105 horsepower, pump injectors, and then they were replaced by units with a common rail fuel system 1.2 TDI, 75 horsepower, and 1.6 TDI, 90 and 105 horsepower. At the same time, among diesel cars, The most popular in our country are the pre-restyling versions with the 1.4 TDI engine. If we are talking about diesel engines with 1.4 TDI and 1.9 TDI pump injectors, then at one time they earned the reputation of being reliable and durable. But time passes, the age and mileage of such cars are only increasing, and the known problems, whereof camshaft cams and failure of pump injectors when using low-quality fuel, malfunctions of a variable geometry turbine, have not gone away and are only complemented by age-related sores. The more modern 1.6 TDI with the common rail system and its three-cylinder brother 1.2 TDI have so far been noted in terms of the functioning of the ecology systems, EGR, particulate filter. In the Green Line, Junior version, the engine is equipped with additional systems start/stop and an energy regeneration system during braking, but so far there have been no negative reviews on them. Rare problems with the fuel system or turbocharging are difficult to classify as systemic. As a result, the motors can be considered reliable, but they are much more complex than their predecessors. In general, we can recommend purchasing any of these options if the technical condition is good. As we have already said, the overwhelming number of cars on our market are with a 5-speed manual transmission. It is considered quite reliable, although there have been cases of premature failure of the input shaft bearing, as well as early death of the clutch. On cars with a 1.6-liter engine, there is a 6-speed automatic transmission Eisen TF60SN. The gearbox is reliable, but demanding on the quality of the oil, and is also sensitive to overheating. So, to achieve a good service life, timely, every 60,000 kilometers, maintenance and gentle operation are necessary. Otherwise, the valve body solenoids will first be damaged, and then the torque converter may need to be repaired. However, in the case of Fabia, it is difficult to kill the box. The engine is not the most powerful, and the car itself is light. In combination with the 1.2 TSI turbo engine, a 7-speed DSG robotic gearbox could be installed. The DQ200 caused the most trouble in its early versions. Jerks during switching, or even complete malfunctions and the inability to solve the problem only by adjustment at runs of 40 to 50,000 kilometers led to the replacement of the clutch, valve body, and sometimes the entire assembly. But since 2009, the box has been modernized several times, and since 2012, it is believed to have been freed from most problems, although the service life of the clutches, about 150,000 kilometers with gentle operation, means that over time the matter will not be limited to just changing the oil. In general, here the robot and the 1.2-liter turbo engine found each other. The later the year of manufacture and the lower the mileage, the better. Ideally, you should carefully study the service history of the car and spare no expense on good diagnostics. Don't want such complications? Then look for a 1.6 with an automatic transmission or a 1.4 with a manual transmission. In the suspension, traditional consumables, struts and stabilizer bushings are the first to fail. However, there are known cases of premature failure of shock absorbers, support, and wheel bearings. Apparently, the problem lies in insufficient protection of parts from an aggressive environment. In any case, it is not expensive to keep the Fabia chassis in good technical condition. But what you should definitely pay attention to before purchasing is the steering, if the car has an electro-hydraulic power steering. Over time, the rack sometimes leaks, and the solution to the problem is far from cheap. After restyling, they started installing an electric booster. There are no problems with it. An aged Fabia readily rusts if you start the process. The fact is that the resistance of paintwork to mechanical damage is not very high, and if the coating is not restored, chips over time turn into bugs, and they progress slowly but surely. Vulnerable areas are the front edge of the hood, roofs, rear arches, sills. Due to an unsuccessful ventilation system, water gets into the trunk, which also does not benefit the body. Among other things, we note the chrome losing its shine and the cloudy plastic of the headlights. On the other hand, the appearance of a used Fabia is a good indicator of how the car has been cared for by previous owners. The interior will also indicate the nature of use. The resistance of finishing materials to wear is average. If handled carelessly, the hard plastic becomes scratched and the fabric upholstery becomes greasy. This increases the chances of understanding that in front of you is either an accelerating car from a corporate fleet or just a car from a slob. A careful owner will still have the interior in good condition after 10 years of use. However, even a well-groomed specimen is not free from the risk of having certain, albeit minor, but unpleasant problems. Due to a break in the wiring in the doorway, the control of electric drives of windows, mirrors, and central locking fails. On cars of the first years of production, the heater motor is considered not very reliable, and if the car has climate control, then damage to the damper drives is possible. And also, like other VAG models, Fabia suffers from souring windshield wipers.